Number 1 Iron Age Booty Daddy.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Iron Age Nights. What's going on? Oh my goodness Lord. It is another Friday. Guys, 45 of these things. 45 of these. I'm going to be honest, I was surprised when we made it to 10, but here we are. Think about that. 45 weeks of Iron Age Nights, ladies and gentlemen, and week after week we have fantastic guest after fantastic guest, and it always seems to be something new, which is unbelievable to me. And something that I received a comment on last week's, or I guess technically this week's Sunday Coffee, when somebody was like, time is in short supply. And instead of watching Friday Night Tights, they're like, I'm watching Iron Age Nights. And that person was also in the live chat. I have a feeling I remember who it was, but in case I'm wrong, I'm not going to say the name. But if they show up tonight in the chat and they're like, yeah, that was me, I'm like, hey, I was right. Or, I was wrong. But they were like, I tight-knit schedule, family, hanging out with the wife, the whole nine. And they're like, Friday Night Tights, they said to them, they're just like, yeah, they kind of talk about the same stuff every week. It's, the typical. But they're like, Iron Age Nights, there's always something new. There's always a new person to experience. There's always somebody new to talk to, a new project to look at. And they're like, that's just really refreshing. And so hopefully, after 45 weeks, one, we are learning from our mistakes, because boy, howdy, have we had some. And two, I hope that we continue to bring just a show to you guys that introduces you to new creators and people who will become your new favorites, because I'm telling you guys, these guys are the people that we're interviewing in this show will be the people that they're making movies about tomorrow, right? These guys are going to be the guys getting the deals, I mean, granted, AI is going to be writing all of it at that point, but never you mind that.
Over my dead body.
Well, don't tell the AI that might make that happen. What? That's good. Arnold Schwarzenegger shows up. You said over your dead body. Why are you literally in the form of the Terminator? And now the AI has to compute like, well, this was the most acceptable form that humans would accept for a Terminator. And so, like, because AI would do that. They would.
Little do you know that was the background of the movie. Just a time loop. Oh,
before we jump into that, ladies and gentlemen, Time to introduce the man. I don't have a snappy thing this week. The guy's done like 3 magazines this year. I don't even know what he's doing anymore. He's doing that. He's organizing other people. He's getting other projects going. Ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth, the legend, Richard from Iron Age Media.
Hello. Just a lot of stuff. It's
I know. Dude, you're not even in the group chat. You're so busy anymore. Like you won't even come. He's so busy. He won't even come into the group. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Right, I get that.
The day job has picked up, and it's been one of those things where it's like, usually I have a little bit more. I'm not doing the overtime as much, shall we say, but every once in a while, there's some particular thing that pops up where it's like everybody's hair is on fire, kind of thing.
Oh, so yeah. See,
that's been the situation for the past week or two. So
I was gonna say, dude,
but Anvil. Issue number 2 is coming out. We're getting a few, we're dotting the I's and crossing the T's, getting the last bit of content ready to go there.
That's exclusively on Fund My Comic?
No, it's on Fund My Comic and Indiegogo.
Oh, okay.
Combined, we just crossed 8K.
Damn.
A few days ago. I had a fantastic interview with Blaine Lee Pardoe.
That was epic.
And also with Michael Bancroft. So if you want to check those out, I talk about what's in the second issue on each of those. I had a great time in both of them. Blaine Lee Pardoe had a wonderful review of the first issue, and you can find that on his blog.
Okay. Full transparency. I saw he came out with a review, and I hadn't even opened it yet. And so I saw that literally that night. I opened it up and I was like, I'm reading this fucking thing and I'm going to get a review. I will have a review of Anvil this week because Blaine Lee Pardoe absolutely showed me up. And I was like, that mother...
Sure
I'm not trying to shame you here, Royce.
I really think
okay.
You are.
You're just succeeding.
I wouldn't be that subtle. I would not be that subtle.
That's actually true.
Yeah,
it's a good point.
I would be coming head on there. So, but we're things are rolling on the second issue. Jake has done a great job with the trailer, and he's doing the layouts, and we're having to rearrange some stuff because we have so much more content.
I will say that from what I've seen of the first one, the layout is fantastic. That's one of the things I did before I started reading all the stories and stuff. I just went page by page and just looked at the layouts, how everything is presented, where the QR codes are, so everybody can go check out. It's really good.
Layout is an art.
The first one was laid out really well. Was it, Dave?
Yeah, and I'm hoping to improve with the second one. So I'm sorry.
Layout is an art.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
I used to do.
And Jake works really hard on it.
Yeah. And fast. He's usually pretty quick on it.
I forgot something, guys.
You forgot to say hello to the chat?
I forgot to say hello to the chat.
I wasn't going to say anything.
Why didn't you say anything?
Because King Richard doesn't care about the peasant.
Yeah, I got my chance to do my intro, and I'm like, I'm just doing my intro. I'm not gonna
wrap this thing up.
So you hear that? Screw you, peasants! Screw you! All right, ladies and gentlemen, I cannot believe I forgot this. Oh my God, where is my head at this week? I wanted to get into the conversation, guys. I'm so sorry, but over on Rumble, we've got Joseph Peck says first. What's going on, Joseph Peck? Frequency Studios is over there. Says let's pound some plussies. Please stop calling it that, please. Just, I would very much prefer. But in the fashion that I do, ladies and gentlemen, whatever you're watching on Rumble or YouTube, if you guys would do me a favor, be like Nemo and touch that butt. The like butt. The like button. That button. The butt. Touch that butt, be like Nemo, and tell these platforms that you actually like watching this channel. It would be absolutely fantastic. We've got Garham. What's going on, man? How you doing over there? Chatsu over on Rumble as well. Squishy Banana Productions doing a freaking video game. I I got a gamer friend of mine that I'm like, when his thing is ready, I'm like, I got a gamer buddy of mine who can provide some really good feedback for video game stuff. So I want to touch base with Squishy Banana when he's ready for beta, or even alpha testing. That would be really cool. Over on YouTube, we got Maji Chan says, hi. We got Wrangler, what's going on? The Dragon Axe 1981. Sir, you're double dipping.
Well, maybe.
Yes, I am.
Yes, I am. R.H. Snow.
I just confessed.
Expected.
What?
I just confessed. I was double dipping right then.
Yes,
somebody in chat. I thought I was caught red-handed.
Well, I mean,
that's
now
why
you
always deny. Always
always deny.
It
R.H.
got
Snow.
drowned out by the announcement of the Queen.
See, R.H. Snow is, she would love to be here, but she has an interview tonight of her own that she's going to be on. So
Nice.
much more important. I'm one of those guys. I'm like, I don't know. Should you go over and watch R.H. Snow? Should you be here for us? Like, I could be selfish and be like, no, you should totally be here. I will say this, whatever you decide, just come back and watch the VOD of the other one and make sure you support the VODs for sure. Frederick Guimont, what's going on? He sent off a submission for Anvil number 3.
Yes, I was just telling him. I was just taking a look at it, actually.
Ooh.
I saw it pop in.
There you go. We have Karen. Karen, hello. How are you, Karen? Karen, you are a Karen, but are you a Karen? Please say no to that. I'm so sorry. That joke is so there. I'm sorry. It's... Welcome to Iron Age Nights. Eric Wag, what's going on? Swift Sword Rush, how are you doing? Brenda Rush, hello, how are you? Joseph Peck, what's going on? Ashley Napier, how are you? I can't read that freaking name. Is this Sonar reporting? Because Lord Noob Skills. Okay, wow, there's a lot of numbers. Mad Ducks, how are you doing? A lot of new names in the chat. Fantastic to see all you, Joseph Peck. You're double dipping. 10 Cage, what's going on, man? How are you doing? Raving Dad Gaming, what's going on? Wrangler dropped a super chat earlier for 420. I always hear Trippy Souls cough in my head every time I do that because I've heard it enough. Evely Music throws down an LGF. Now, for those of you who don't know, LFG means let's fucking go. LGF mean let's go fucking. So
More chat lore.
More chat lore. Welcome to the show. To all the newbies who are here in the show, let's go fucking. James Craig, how you doing, man?
It's a great way to segue into James Craig.
Oh, I know. John A. Douglas, what's going on? Horizon Talker, how are you doing? Raul Deonzi, it's fantastic to see. Oh my God, you guys made the chat jump on me again. Why do you guys do that to me? There's like having conversation while I'm doing a show. Oh my God, you guys made the chat jump a lot. Holy crap. Matt Hatter 1776 Animation Overlord, how are you doing? Chris M, what's going on? Oh my God, there's a lot of people in the chat tonight. Wow, a lot of new names too. I'm very excited. David, are the new names your new names? Do you recognize these names?
Oh yeah, I recognize quite a few of them.
That's awesome, man. Well, thank you so much, guys, for yay. Hey, if you don't show up for next week's episode, at least you're here for David, and that is fantastic to show your support for him. We got the Ultimate Kahuna down in YouTube, drops a $4.99 super chat. He says he may take our sobriety, but he'll never take our freedom. Richard Anvil, Richard.
The sobriety is taken.
It is awesome. Gone. Keep it up, King. Anthony Rondinelli, how are you? Periops' Press is down there as well. How are you doing, Katie? Hi, Katie. It's fantastic to see you. I think I got. He says, LOL, it's Let's Go Friends. No, it is not. It is not Let's Go Friends. No, Evely Music. It's not. Denied. No. Should I make it a freaking poll? Should I make it a poll in the chat? What does LGF stand for? Let's go friends or let's go?
That's going to be a ratio.
But ratios are fun.
Oh God. Oh, that they are. All right. now that I have awkwardly gone through some horrible intros, it's time. If you guys have a story that is tied up in the closet of your mind and you thought beating it with a stick was being friendly, this is the guy who's going to come in and rescue that story out of that closet and say, no, this is how we treat the story, and help you to get that story onto the page. I actually thought of that the other day while I was driving. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Daniel P. Riley of whimsyland.org.
With friends like that, who needs enemies?
I saw his face like, what the?
This is just payback for my refusal to shill on his show.
Oh, I told you, I will shill for you. If you're not going to shill for me, I will do it, and you won't like it.
Pretty much.
Just the look on your face. It's like, ladies and gentlemen, the moral of that story, be nice to your stories. Be nice to your stories. They'll get on the page if you're just nice to them. Otherwise, if you're not nice to them, you've got to hire guys like Daniel P. Riley here. And honestly, most people are mean to their stories, and that's why Daniel P. Riley has a job. Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm not sure that's the direction we want to go. Thank you.
I already went there. It's too late. Like you could have stopped me at any time during that, and you didn't.
The sign was there.
I don't know how
nobody can stop you.
When you're going there.
That's true. If I get going, it's actually really, really hard to stop. I have trouble stopping. Actually, ironically enough, that's the one thing that pisses my wife off the most. I will finish an entire thought in my head before I finish the words out of my mouth, and I'll just stop mid-sentence, and my wife will just be sitting there like, "You gonna finish that thought?" I'm like, I did. And they're like, "You didn't tell me about it." I'm like, "Oh, really? I no, I heard the word. No, you didn't." Oh. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, all jokes aside, Daniel has worked with many, many, many members of the ADWC community through the Gilded, helping them put their stories to the page. He works with Richard, putting together Anvil, being one of the main editors, or I guess.
Yeah, he's the editor. I'm technically the managing editor. Is
right.
Just the title for what role I fill.
It's just a fancy word for butts heads with me on what goes in the magazine.
Right. And so, but seriously, all jokes aside, Daniel has worked on a ton of stuff and is constantly trying not only to earn your business, but he also just reaches out and has helped a lot of people in our community. So, Daniel, what you got going on, man? How has your last week been?
Not great. Hence the excessive drinking in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I won't go into that, but yes. So, nope, you're good.
I am here to enjoy David's creation and hang out with you guys.
What's so cool is that, and I've said this so many freaking times on the Wednesday show, is that there's a very, very big reason why we have David here tonight. One, I was going to get David on. So, full transparency, everybody. I had full plans to get David on in September, and the guest we had already scheduled for tonight, and our September schedule is still up in the air right now, which is aggravating because we're a week away from September and things have fallen through. Schedules have people still want to be on, but we've got to redo stuff. We're gonna have an Iron Age Nights that's gonna be a totally different format. And it's going to be a one-off and a very special one-off, which I need to talk with my two co-hosts. Is that a possibility that we could potentially talk about?
Responded.
It's true, you did. Anyway, but so
it's sad Richard is slower than I am.
I know. So, but full transparency, guys, we're going to get David on in September. We had a cancellation this week because schedules again clashed. because people are going out and making things happen. And it was one of those things. It's like, well, that actually worked out well because we can now bring David on and get him in like a few weeks, like literally a few weeks earlier because of how the schedule worked out. Because it was going to be probably third or fourth week before I was going to be able to get you on. But I'm really glad that this actually worked out the way it did. And now the schedule's up in the air for next week. So but we're working on things. But so full transparency, guys. David Odell runs the channel Griffin's Library on YouTube and locals.com. So locals.com and Rumble. I'm sorry. I'm not good at this. You know this. And one of the reasons that I'm very, very excited to have David here is because he's doing something that no other content creator, whether comic book, tabletop RPG, any of them, have done. And it is unique in the way that it's kind of what I do. Before we get into that, because I will lose track of this very quickly, the Ultimate Kahuna shared a $1.99 super chat, and he says, so your wife gets mad when you finish in your head. Fuck.
I'll slow clap that one.
Cream. Medic?
I've kept my wife for 13 years, good sir. There's a method to that madness. Anyway. Holy shit. There are so many things I'm just like, not the show for that. Sunday coffee, maybe.
No.
Oh, God. So I really need to start reading ahead in the super chats.
But how could you get such great moments like that?
It's true. So, David, I want to introduce you in a different way that I've introduced a lot of guests because I've been wanting to ask you this question live for a while because you have been posting this in the weekly Comic Shop Wednesday show. I think even before I named it Comic Shop Wednesday, you were sharing.
Yes.
And don't tell me I know these things.
No, you don't.
Do you remember them is the question.
Apparently it's just fucking Attack Royce night.
I was going to say, I don't even have to do anything. We got
don't have to do anything.
Usually I'm the belligerent one.
I know.
This is convenient. I can just kind
Richard's just like, King Richard's just like,
go.
they brought their own sticks to beat the Jester this week. Okay,
Nerf bats, I'm being nice.
Nerf bats. We have one of my employees. There's just a baseball bat in like our workshop, and he wrapped it with packing bubbles. You know, like the ones that you get and he's like, no, it's the safety bat. So when people aren't being safe, you can beat them with the safety bat. I'm like, well, till all the bubbles pop.
Then it's just not as satisfying.
It's true. It's very true.
Not
All
as
right.
entertaining. It is satisfying.
Yes. By the way, chat, do me a favor. How is everybody's audio levels down in the chat? Is everybody hearing everybody equally? Who needs to roll up? Who needs to roll down? Just let me know because I want to make sure that everybody's heard equally. Okay, so back to my question. God, shouldn't have drank an energy drink before the show because now I'm fighting the tired and also wired, so it's going to be fun. But David, one of the things that and I've said this so many times on the Wednesday show when you've shared that you decided to share your story, your world, and your world building through more of the podcast style, YouTube style type of layout. Instead of putting it into a book, instead of, turning it into necessarily a tabletop RPG and doing like the literature and the pages and all that, you literally have 150 episodes of just taking people on this journey through your world, almost like it's a history channel, right? Almost like it's something that already happened. And I'll get to my other question, which is how you got started here, but I really want to know, and I've been wanting to ask you this for a long time, which is why I'm starting here. What made you decide to do that route instead of the traditional, put it into a book or put it into a tabletop RPG or a guide? Like,
quite simply, it all has happened, except for the newer stories that I'm telling. It is all history. I've spent 25 years developing this with a bunch of people. It was my tabletop RPG setting. Most of the big names that you hear in the background are my players. For example, the Empress of the Gods, Genevieve Notacare, is in your chat.
That's really cool.
So it's
awesome.
Been
Divine
going
royalty,
over.
nice.
That's
Absolutely. And also
really
the
cool.
insanity of being a DM that lets his players keep their characters even though they're divine.
Yeah, that's a you thing. I'm not even gonna.
Oh, that's the
I've
least
done it.
insane thing I've done as a DM.
No, So again, having limited experience with tabletop RPGs, we do a tabletop RPG with Black Knight, Star Shatter. It happens once in a while. I used to say twice a month, and now because of scheduling, it happens, right? Like, the flat out Black Knight was like, all right, we're the heroes of the story. You're going to play heroes. You're going to be heroic. That doesn't mean you can't be brutal to the enemies. And I have been brutal. I've actually kind of pushed that line a little bit. And people were like, good God. But we're still heroes of the story. We're still technically the good guys. That doesn't mean we can't mercilessly destroy the bad guys. But having that rule set of you will not be a bad guy, or because Black Knight was like, I as the DM, if you push me too far, I'll just nuke your character. He's like, we're the heroes of the story. Playing in that lane is really nice for my really first full tabletop RPG experience. I do not want to know what I would do if I had the freedom to just do whatever I want. And it sounds like you did that.
Oh, yes. Through the years, because when we first started playing, we decided to make it a contiguous storyline. The past characters had relevance, and out of laziness, where I didn't want to guess what they would do, I made them play their characters. If they wanted to bring them in, oh, I'm going to go talk to this old character. Okay, tell me what you do. Tell me why you do it. Make sure it fits your old character.
Ooh.
And 20 some odd years of that, you end up getting people who are like, okay, I need a couple minutes. I need to talk to characters. Which ones? This one of mine, this one of mine, and this one of mine. Okay, we need an hour to figure it out. And again, not the most insane.
Dude, so you literally
populated an entire mythos with the same group of players on multiple characters.
Evolving group of players, actually.
Oh, nice.
What?
So you did get some fresh blood in there, huh?
Oh, yes, definitely.
That is epic.
For the people who have followed, the Valors, the top end of the current pantheon of gods, which includes Genevieve and a few others, that all happened when I lived in Philadelphia and my roommates.
Oh.
And we played all the time because... Oh, really? Cool. Yep. We would play because D&D doesn't cost money. You get the books, you sit down, you get to play, you get to cover your bills. And we got to the point of the first tier of gods being made. And then we ended up moving up to, or down to Florida. Got a new group of people along with one or two that had moved with me from Philadelphia. And there's your second and third tier of gods of the V's, which are victors and voids. Wait a second. Valors, victors, voids, vanquishers. Sorry, lots of V's. I do alliteration.
You're
it's
good.
a headache. The next two came out of my roommates and my next door neighbor. And we had this strange policy of if everyone's around and you can convince me, we're going to play, which ended up with 60-hour playing weeks sometimes because
wow,
it's cheaper to play game. And hey, wait a second, do we want to play? Yell for him next door to come over. Okay, we're playing. And that's where you get the next 2 tier of gods. And then thanks to a individual good friend of mine who's actually away for a birthday, or else he would be here. You getting knocked on from heaven, Royce?
No, I'm in my basement and I'm wondering what the hell just exploded upstairs. I have many animals, 4 children, and a wife, and that sound was terrifying.
As long as it's not my spicy things.
No. I might talk with Albany about sending you a spicy thing that we need review on, because I'm having issues with it, and it's not bad. Like, I'll talk about that later. My wife makes homemade barbecue sauces, guys. So and she
spices
and homemade spices generally knocks them out of the park too. And I'm usually the test guinea pig, and like she's like, hey, try this, and she did this one, and usually she knocks it out of the park. Usually it's like, oh babe, this here, second time through, good. This one, she's on like the 3rd like testing of it, so we let it sit for a day, and we're hoping that it works. It could just be it's not a my palate type of thing, but I don't know, so I might see if we can't send some small just samplers out to people to be like we really need critical stuff here. But so I might actually talk with Albany about that. But yes, sorry, David, I apologize to go on the interlude
I'll
about
be
that.
your lab rat, it's fine.
You are absolutely fine. Well, about almost 20 years ago now, during the Ravnica Magic the Gathering release party at one of the local card shops, I had some signs up looking for D&D players because we were looking for new blood. No one responded. We were at the Ravnica thing. I'm pulling the signs down, and the gentleman who is now my roommate was like, wait a second, you're the guy who runs D&D? Can't find any players. And thus began the most insane thing as a DM I ever started, because I went out for a cigarette and came back to 20 players. We ran that campaign for months.
You ran a 20-player campaign?
Yep.
How many drugs did you do?
Not enough. But to be fair, to be fair, I had a wonderful way of keeping the players distracted. I invited the old blood to bring their gods in, and they started playing for which mortals would worship who. And we got very interesting.
What the hell? So you've got a new group of 20 players. You call your old group and you're like, hey, we need to teach these young bloods some shit. You bring the old group in.
First, only 2 of them showed up, and they happened to be...
And now you're playing essentially 2 simultaneous games. You're playing a tabletop RPG with the gods who are deciding which mortals they're going to get. And then you're playing a separate game that is the mortals playing, but it's all the same game.
Yes, except it was the gods making the overtures themselves and me dealing with the consequences, because the gods are the gods. The players are the players. They get to run around, and if they mess up, well, there are circumstances for that if they go too far. And
okay, so, boy, that's interesting. Having a group of like 5 or so people kind of dictate what the 20 or so people have to do, and then you have, I'm assuming DM had final decision on some things.
Oh, well, the thing is the gods were as in the dark as anybody else, because they're trying to keep the world safe because it's their world to protect. That's their job. So they are trying to work together to protect the world while making sure they get the best followers out of it. Therefore, instead of me having to worry with 20 minds against me at once, they're busy going against each other.
Oh, so you're just an evil genius. I see where it is now. Okay. That sounds actually really cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. What's the most amount of players you've GM'd for?
Holy crap.
The highest amount we ever had at that time, I believe we counted it at 22.
Okay.
But yeah, it very nice. It is such a freaking headache. Combat. That's all I gotta say. Combat.
Well, I had a similar idea, so I ran a 6-party dungeon crawl where the 6 parties were literally killing each other off by traps.
Ooh, nice! I like it.
Everything each party was interacting with had some consequence for another party in another section of the map. It was a free for all. It was awesome. Took a whole weekend though.
Yeah, this was. So let's see here. I think by the end of the campaign that started with 22 people, we were down to, I want to say 12 or 16. Just because people fall off, life happens. But typically after that, it was 8 to 12 people per campaign, because honestly, less than that, it's not fair to them. They trained me too well, because problem with having that many people who are college students in engineering and other hard sciences.
Oh, fuck. I hate engineers. I hate engineers.
Oh, should I leave then?
Probably. I desperately no. Here's why. Every single engineer that I have run into, guys like me and guys who've worked for me, have to go and fix your fucking design problems on a site.
I'm on the fixing side, not the drawing side.
No, because it don't work like that. No, but my computer. But I'm telling you right now, it doesn't work like that.
Richard's like, you're offending my ancestors.
I'm just thinking of all the times that y'all's bosses told us, and we said, "Is this what you want?" And they said, "Yes, it has to be like that."
They don't know what they're talking about.
Oh, I know.
No, they don't.
I also agree with you.
But at a certain point, you just go, "So you want it? You just want us to drill a hole there and put a clamp on it, huh?"
I've been there.
That doesn't seem like a good idea. And
I've been there.
Then somebody screams at you and says, "We got to get it out now. We have to ship it. We sold it 6 months ago, and now we're late. We're going to lose $1 million." And you're like, "Okay, well, it's released now. Go forth and have fun."
Oh no, I've been there. Seriously,
it rolls downhill.
It's why engineers should never talk to like the upper management of the project. Every engineer on the planet should say, "I want the supervisor who is going to be in charge of this project talking with me," because that guy, he's the guy who's got to deal with it. He's the guy who actually has to put the thing together. And then you talk with him and he can look at the engineer, because that conversation's going to happen anyway. It's going to be a lot less tension on the front end. Sorry, there's just...
Oh, I agree. I'm a land surveyor. Trust me, the amount of times we've gotten a survey back, "Hey, can you go check this? That road does not exist. We wrote it in big block letters. Paper street.
My favorite.
Why is it on the survey?"
Oh, dude, my favorite part is, why is this corner off 3 feet? When you're doing buildings.
Ow!
Yeah, you've been there. That's such a great feeling, isn't it? How come this corner is 3 feet northwest of lining up with that corner? And what does that do to the rest of the drawing?
Many bad things.
It's not fun. Oh my god. Okay, so we now have John A. Douglas, you're in the chat. We now have David Odell, another guy we can draft for the Blue Collar Night. We're putting a Blue Collar live stream together, probably over on Rumble. And I don't know when it's going to happen, but we've talked about this. But I'm going to draft you, David, because
10-4.
We're just Blue Collar Night. We're going to talk about the blue collar stuff. It's going to be great. But let's get back into Griffin's library. I love that you're tangenting like this with me. It makes me so happy. They don't let me tangent anymore. They're Royce, you're not allowed to tangent. I'm like, but
Royce, it's your show. Do what the hell you want.
Technically, this show is not my show. This show is our show. This show is actually between me, Richard, and Daniel. Wednesday night comic shop, mine. Sunday coffee, mine. This show here came together with the three of us, and all of us sat down and we have discussed rules of the show many times, and all this stuff, and this, that's why so we've had some people like reach out and they're like, hey, you know, we'd really love to come on your show, like, you know, we've got this project that we're working on, and I'm like, hey, I got to run it by the guys. And I've had a few people ask me like, oh, what do you mean you got to run it by the guys? It's like, well, for those that don't know, this show here, this isn't just like my brain baby. This is something that came together with me, Richard, and Daniel. And this is, now it kind of happened in an awesome way, but when guests reach out to it, generally, if I reach out to a guest and I say, hey, we'd like to have you on the show, or Richard reaches out to a guest, or Daniel reaches out to a guest, we have all already had a conference about you, your project, and what we would like to kind of talk with you about and why we are interested in you. Because all of us are kind of in different corners of the internet. But when a guest comes,
might be overselling what we do.
It's usually a short DM like, hey, you want to have this guy on? And they're like, yeah, I've seen them around. We can do that. But come on, dude, I'm trying to make it sound cool, okay?
So, it fits right in with our weekly meetings.
That was 6 months ago. Actually, no, it's more than 6 months ago. That was
8 months.
It's 8 months. Yeah, the last one was in January, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but that's the thing. Yeah, it's and some people don't. And I want to put that out there to let people know, like this. Yes, it is on the A Drink with Crazy channel. No, I do not have ultimate final say over this show. I mean, if I did, it would probably be a very heated discussion. Usually it's, there's a 2 to 3 majority. There's a little bit of democracy that plays in, and then, we'll let the chips kind of lie after that. And then we've actually had some conversations after a couple of episodes like, dude, bro, what the fuck? but no, yeah, it's not my show. So and the reason I need to make that abundantly clear is because a lot of people think that this show is my show, or some people don't realize that it's not just Richard's show. And some people don't realize that it's not just Daniel's show, like, because we're all
some people don't realize that we're separate human beings. That's been an issue a time or two.
Remember that, DM?
Yeah,
that was the funniest.
There's been a time where it's like,
yep.
Yeah.
They think that A Drink with Crazy and Iron Age Media are in fact the same person.
Yes.
Yep.
I know we're all pretty similar in appearance, like we're basically interchangeable.
Yeah,
it'd be an easy mistake to make.
The personalities identical. We're just, right?
Carbon copies.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody thinks I'm in charge of this channel, just so we're clear.
Yeah.
Or is that just a subtle way to say, I don't want to be
you're
responsible?
The quiet mastermind. Yeah, maybe it's a responsibility thing.
Oh no, Daniel. Here's the thing though. Daniel talking about button heads with Richard and like like making sure stuff. We've had conversations about, like, there are guests because one of the things I think all of us have agreed on. If one of us says, well, you know what, I can't really contribute to this conversation, but I don't have any problems having the person on. They talk about different stuff than I do, which is why all three of us work well together, is because if I can't carry a conversation with somebody, Richard can, or Daniel can, or vice versa. But if one of us comes out and says, I am not comfortable being on with this creator, this person, I've either seen the project or I've seen their online conduct or whatever, and I'm not comfortable with it, we've flat out said, if all of us don't agree that we're all cool pushing A Drink with Crazy, IronAge.media, whimsyland.org behind that person on that show, we don't do it. It is a three-way agreement. I mean, we've had arguments back and forth. We've had debates back and forth. We've done some convincing. At the end of the day, if it's not a three-way agreement, we don't host the person on the show. And that's just, and that's one of the things. And David, here's the cool part. When I was like, hey, how about David Odell? They were like, oh yeah, no, that guy's cool as hell. So like you didn't even need to get much of a, they're like, yeah, no, totally checked out some of his stuff. Yeah, but no, so it's a fun time. And I put that out there because a lot of people don't realize how the show works.
I didn't.
And we've never
how we operate.
We've never actually talked about it. Mm-hmm. Out of all of the shows, we've never talked about how we set it up, how we do the show, how we book the show, how, if people reach out to us, it's not just a unilateral decision. And so at some point, it's probably important to talk about it. And David, I'm sorry, you were just the one to mention, Royce, it's your show. And I'm like,
No.
Let me tell you.
Transparency is always good.
So, but no, so that is the thing. So that is the thing. It is not my show. And I don't remember.
Small veto power over his rants.
Fair enough.
But you guys don't ever use them. You literally let me go on the rants and then just let me dig my own grave.
You just complained about them saying you couldn't change it.
That's what the chat wants.
What I like.
I don't like it, but I put up with it for the chat.
I love it. Agent of Chaos. I'm like, wind him up and let him go.
Hate you
watch.
You guys are just terrible people. You guys are terrible. Okay, so
yeah.
Yeah. I know. David's like, I'm in your gilded. I'm aware.
Yeah. I'm a DM for over 30 years. I'm a horrible person too. So yeah.
I can't even. Okay. So all of this starts with what it sounds like D&D.
Mm-hmm. Close.
Okay, a D&D rule set?
Actually, the beginnings of the Realms of Jamamar was a bright-eyed project between me and a few friends to make a replica, something like a game we were all loving at the time in 8th grade, Final Fantasy III. Originally, it was going to be a JRPG. Yeah, when I say over 20 years, I'm not kidding.
Dude, you just made me feel old.
You're welcome.
Stop doing that.
I said you should feel old now, Royce. You're getting up there,
Screw you guys. I'm the youngest person on this panel.
Probably.
Yeah, you're getting up there with us. I tell you, it's not long before you'll be.
Richard's got a little bit
complaining
of
about those kids.
Dude, can you imagine me at 60 years old, potentially with still my same energy level, just screaming at kids on my yard?
From a lawn
chair.
Of course, then again, I'll have to look at my wife and I'll be like, babe, I told you to stop feeding them. If you keep feeding them, they'll keep... The children need their cookies, sweetheart. I'm going to go make some... No. She would do that. My wife would do that.
She's awesome.
That's why you married her.
You got a good impression there. I like the old wife impression.
Right.
That's going to be a crowd pleaser, I'm sure.
Oh, God.
And the memory continues.
The memory continues.
Oh, God. I'm sorry, David. Usually we make it about an hour and a half before we go off the rails.
No.
Off the rails is standard for Jamamar.
Dude,
so I feel at home.
I have gone in and I have, actually, believe it or not, it's generally after the Wednesday live streams, where I'll tune into either like your newest episodes that you've done and stuff like that, and just listen and just try to cue in. And it's funny. I can click on any of, you've got 150 episodes right now to introduce people to your world. And your world is so expansive. It's one of those, because I don't have all the time in the world. So I'm kind of tune in, and then, I kind of have, oh crap, I get busy and jump out, because I try to listen to things while I'm like, you know, because I can listen to stuff like while I'm at work and just doing computer work. I can throw an earbud in and do that. And there's so many different things going on in your world and so many different stories going on in your world. It's just like, all right, I'm lost. And it is one of those things that I will say, if you guys want to jump in on the ground floor at episode 1 and listen to probably one of the easiest listening things ever, like where like you will not get wound up at all. Like this is, it's just, dude, you're, first of all, the way that you present your show is fucking fantastic.
I know.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Dude.
It's like a 1980s Nat Geo special. It's like, welcome to Griffin's Library. And there's like,
the music is really, and it's you know what? Let me do it this way. Let me, because I've got to show people. Let's just go back to like very, very like your first episode. Let's do the first episode.
Oh, cringe.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Fine. What would you?
No.
Go ahead with number one.
We'll
Which
go with
is
the first, and then we can take
Is it Intro to the Realm Series 1? Is that it? Is that?
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Series 1, Episode 1.
All right.
One of the first episodes, no scripts, just blah.
Experience fantasy ASMR on Iron Age Nights.
Dude, it's really good though. That's the thing. Is like this isn't bad. Like I don't like
it was bad.
No, but what I'm saying, like you say ASMR. I so Twitch and OnlyFans have really changed ASMR for me forever, and I apologize.
I'm talking about the real thing, Royce, not the pervy thing.
Rule 34, man. Rule 30.
Yeah.
All right, so this is the first episode. So if this is bad, apparently it gets better. And it does actually, because I've actually listened to some episodes.
So have I. It's not bad at all.
Welcome to the library. I am David.
Is that not a Nat Geo voice?
It is.
To the realms of Jamamar. Please note, these early entries are nothing more than introduction to help familiarize yourself with the various intricacies and details of the realms of Jamamar.
Got a little Bob Ross going in there.
Right.
Some happy little trees.
Everybody needs a friend.
To the various planets and other such living habitations throughout the Credella sector.
Here is
the Nine Wings Galaxy. As a setting,
I love the map.
You'll find everything from high tech,
thank you,
to high fantasy, to virtually neither of the two. It is a world of wonder, mystery, and history. And I hope to show you just a bit of the wonder of it via these entries. So let us begin.
So this is
of course, at the beginning.
Episode 1.
Yes.
And I give that as an example because this is one of 150. Now, I would say this is not, I would not say ASMR. I would say, so years ago when I was having my panic attacks, because, you know, I'm wound for sound, wired for stress, and tighter than a violin string. That's me. That's how I live my life. It's fun. But when I was, yeah, well, the show is aptly named. But anyway, I was trying. I was one looking into various different things because I didn't want to medicate myself. Medication is just not like I'm. Like if I have to take a medication, it's an ibuprofen because joint pain from skateboard injuries when I was a kid. But so I didn't want to do medication. So I went through and I found various different, like especially to fall asleep, had a lot of trouble falling asleep. So I was finding things on YouTube that were, you know, things to ease the mind, you know, the meditation things to just help you kind of just relax and really slow down and really kind of lose yourself in that. I would equate what that is with the music, the background, the way that you speak, like a meditative journey. Like
That's literally what ASMR means.
That's not. It's so weird now, though. I don't like the. But anyway, so
It stands for audio sensory median response.
yes,
That's exactly what you're describing.
But the brain is weird, and association after long enough will.
Yeah, the association now was with weird women making noises, but you know.
It is, and I don't like it. But anyway, I absolutely. Oh, when I was listening, because I actually pulled it up today. I pulled up the first episode and was listening to a little bit of it today, and I was like, "Man, what does this remind me of?" And it reminded me of that. It reminded me of taking me out of a stressful environment, and I'm at work, so I have to kind of stay wound up at work, you know. But I'm like, this reminds me of taking me out of a stressful environment and introducing me into a world and kind of going through its history. And again, another thing that, like, you are telling your story in a way that almost nobody else is. You took this world that you built and created, and instead of just selling like the guidebooks, which maybe you are, and maybe I'm just an idiot, but you're putting it out there in a full story for people on YouTube. What gives you the idea to do that? Where did you, like, what made you go, no, this is how I'm going to present the story. I'm not going to do the traditional route of putting it in a book, putting it in a guidebook. No, I'm gonna go on YouTube and I'm gonna tell people about this world that I've created, and I'm gonna take them through this every week like it's the History Channel of Gemimar.
Well,
apparently that's weird.
Your video is in the greatest face ever.
Absolutely. But to answer your question, I took a lot of inspiration from lore channels for other settings, because I've sat down to try to write Gemimar books, and they turn into a disaster because there's so much that needs explaining. Like, I ran a short story past a friend who had no experience, and they handed me 3 pages of questions of what is all this shit? It sounds cool. Like, the story flowed, but what the hell is Christech? What the hell is Void and Aether and Temporsis and all this shit? So I decided, as my goals actually go far beyond just running a YouTube channel, as a proof of concept and something for people to be able to refer back to should they come across another production down the road, explanations. I took a lot of inspiration from a particular Warhammer channel called Baldemart's Guides to Warhammer. And he does little story blurbs that he writes up within the setting to give showing, not telling. And I really like that idea. And let him know, oh yeah, it has worked fairly well for me so far. Because I do have other projects I want to eventually get to, but I also want to have that backstop for people to be able to go and get the explanation of what is this, what is that, without breaking the flow of whatever later creation I am making.
So it's like a video version of a companion book for your standard role playing game.
Correct.
It expands on lore.
Exactly.
So
I like it.
Have you considered, putting together like an RPG book?
I have. The issue is because of all the different rule systems that were used in playing and building all the lore, because it started in 2nd edition D&D, then went to 3rd, 3.5, then Pathfinder with a little bit of the ice
I love
system.
how you skip 4.
Why would I go to 4?
I
It was
just said
3.5, then Pathfinder came out. Pathfinder was the superior system to 3.5.
Agreed.
And 4, why would I try to reduce something so complex? It just wasn't compatible. Because I looked at it, because my players were like, hey, this is coming out. Do we want to move towards this? because I had the great fortune of having a group of players that were willing to, oh, we need this book. One of us can get it. And thus we're able to pull. So jumping rule sets was a big decision. And we've kind of come to the decision that if I ever run it as a tabletop again, I have to build a custom rule set from the bottom up. And that's a lot of work that I have not been able to properly focus on to do because of all the multiple layers. Because not only do I have to make it work within universe, but I have to make the rule set work without getting sued for being too similar to one of the inspiration settings. So that's a thin line to what.
I gotta shill it,
gaming
man.
was open source.
I was gonna say I've got to shill it, but you're in the Gilded, and dude, there are so many talented people in the Gilded that if you wanted to bounce an idea off of them, and I'm sure members of the Gilded would be more than happy to help, because the members of the Gilded are highly underworked. And they're really not. They actually have more work than they can possibly
say.
But they will always, for the benefit of another and the destruction of themselves, help somebody out, because that's just how they do, and that's why that community is so unbelievably fantastic. But
I'm in good company then.
Yeah, my Gilded is insane,
and we do love to collaborate.
Well, yeah. I will keep that in mind. Unfortunately, between trying to finish this current series and figuring out where to go from here, I haven't decided to go back to the tabletop RPG quite yet, but it is in the wings.
You know, we should get you in touch with Vincent Baker. Because a guy who could probably come up with a system that would work with you, he could probably come up with one on the guy comes up with a new game system, like what did you say, every other month, guys? Some give or take? Like,
yeah, he's been at it for years.
He has a lot of background. He also does, I will say, I think that, a lot of his background is much more in the faster play type stuff. He has some fairly, intricate RPGs, but I think he's only done one of those.
Well, even he said trying to design an RPG system that's dynamic and engaging is extremely time consuming.
Yes. Yeah. But and that's why he runs everything off of, I think he said he runs everything off of a D6.
Mm-hmm.
This is all
for his,
for all his stuff. He's like, it's a D6, and it's 1D6, 2D6, 3D6. It's all based off of that, and it's, he keeps power scaling low, so that way things don't just get redonkulous, and things
like is all about redonkulous.
Oh yes, so we'll make you a Super Saiyan dice. It'll be great.
Yeah, that class exists.
The 2000 sided.
Son of a bitch! You have Super Saiyans.
They're called the followers of the True Fist.
I love this so much.
Yes,
that's fucking fantastic.
I wear my inspirations on my sleeve. The wonderful thing about it having gone for so long is so many people have gone, I want to do this in your world. And then I spend about a week figuring out how to make it happen and writing, well, for those old school RPG lovers, 80s RPG rules for it and handing them a small list of, here are your rules. Do not make me rewrite these, please. Don't lose them.
If I have to cross something out, you're out.
Well, actually, like any DM, the scariest words are, hey, David, I was reading and... oh, no. But we would... Because JMMR was always designed as always meant to be fun. We wanted to have fun. And if that meant that the byword for Jamamarian heroes is, how much am I escalating today? that's what it was. As my sister, who plays Genevieve, will say, escalations are our specialty.
Nice.
So, yeah, it's been a ride. We used to play very, very regularly before all the insanity happened a couple years ago, and
yeah. So you said current project. What's the current project?
Current project is currently finishing the current series, which only has a couple more episodes into it, and then I have a small group of individuals that have come up that have gone, hey, do you want voices? Do you want this? Do you want that? And I'm like, yes, but there's no way I can do it in my current weekly workflow because I just can't organize multiple people in a single week, especially when I'm writing the episodes last minute because I've already brainstormed it up.
Mm-hmm.
Sitting down and typing it out is the hard part because it's all set. Because that's how I work. I brainstorm it all up. I spend like 20, 30 hours per episode figuring out how it would work and then remembering, wait a second, what about this? And then rewriting it like any author does, I'm quite sure.
Plot holes.
Plot holes, or wait a second, this person has this ability and why would they not use it? Wait a second. So I'm hoping to move to a more fuller format. I really want to get them to where they're the level of an audio drama with proper scoring and sound effects. I'd like to get, thank you. I'd like to get some solid artwork in, but that is the hardest part of the formula because I refuse to take free. Because every one of us that is in this space is trying to make it and going, I'll take free from you for exposure, just it doesn't sit right with me. It's one
can understand.
It's why there's so little art in the episodes. Occasionally you'll see a couple art pieces that were created during one of the last major campaigns, like the 20-person campaign. I had an individual, wonderful young lady who drew a absolute crap ton of art, and part of the reason a lot of it hasn't been shown is I haven't really focused on those characters, and it's fairly specific to a small group of what are now gods, and it just wouldn't feel right to just splay them up just to put up an image for people to see. That's why it's normally the maps. They're normally color-coded for the storyline. Like the blue is for just straight lore, and each of the 4 main storylines has its own color, including a off color for the high-level god talk, which I reference with the people who actually have those gods. It's like, okay, this is going on. What are you doing? This, and this. I'm talking to this god. I'm talking to this god. I'm talking to this mortal, because I tried to make sure that in the realms of Jamamar, as powerful as the gods are, the fact that the Empress of the Gods, Genevieve, can crack a planet if she wants to, there are still mortals that can make her pause. Not that she's afraid of them, but they're high enough power level to make her go, this is going to cost if I actually have a fight. Because the dynamics of it all, you got to keep things interesting, and try to keep things interesting for multiple levels of player has been an interesting experience over the years.
It's not easy.
No, it isn't, but it's been very fulfilling. There have been some moments that just, like the time a god nearly died out of hubris because he decided to, okay, hello, you are the clown of the group. Everyone accepts that you are the clown of the group. You are the best rogue in all history because you never get hit by a trap. That's because you run through so fast you trip them on everybody else. This kind of player. Okay, we're going to duel. You're a god. Oh, I give up my godhood. And then he kills himself in his first attack by accident. You don't get moments like that if you don't let people just play.
Yes,
And
such
that's
is
what
the
the realms
life of
were
the
all
botch,
about.
right?
Exactly. Well, technically, it wasn't a botch. The particular god in question, the demon god Eddie, who is dead in the series by his own hand because he's strange, was challenging the halfling rogue named Stumbleduck. I was like, okay, I'll give up my godhood. He pulls out his magical dice because he's a gambler. And he's got these magical dice that, depending on how they roll up, a different effect happens. He happened to roll basically the maximum effect, which, to put it in D&D terms, was like a 400-foot prismatic sphere at DC 100, I think it was in the 40s. Without his god powers, he failed. And they both got petrified. And then half the group jumped on trying to destroy the statue of the demon god, which was one of the two competing for all the mortals.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was a fun night.
Okay. So you said something in the interim while I was stretching my legs. I got to get a better chair. You said something that...
Or better legs.
We're not quite
Sorry,
to
I'm
technology.
drunk. Move on.
We're not quite to technology like that yet, but that would be really cool. Actually, speaking of that, elevate the chair, better posture. You would think I just... Anyway. One of the things that you said that was really interesting is players of all different skill levels. So I am assuming that you have run, and from what it sounds like, you've run massive games with players that are very skilled and know exactly what to do. I'm assuming with players who are absolutely brand new. What is that tightrope act like? What is that like? Because I'm in a group with Black Knight where some of the guys have played D&D before, and they kind of have an understanding of it. Myself and Trippy are newer to the 3.5-ish system. It's been modified heavily, so that's why I say ish. But with 4 people, you can definitely see the skill level gap kind of between the guys who knew how to min-max their dudes and newer players, right? How in the world, what's that tightrope balance like with 20 players where dudes have, or however many players you have, like what's the skill gap? Have you seen brand new, it's their first time ever with guys who've been playing for 15, 20 years in the same opening?
Almost every group.
How do you walk that type?
Thankfully, because of my players, the higher level ones, my players are very helpful to the young players, even if they're not trying to go for new mortals to serve. Because the big 20-person campaign, all the old guard were invested in getting the young guard as strong as possible, so they made sure they knew the rules.
Super cool.
So that took care of a lot of it, and that tradition kind of carried forward, even though I didn't set up such a hard dynamic for them to battle each other. The older players would help the younger players and would talk to them about, okay, hey, if you do this, you'll make the vein in his forehead pop out because he's not expecting it. That used to be the gauge for when they got me, is the little vein in the forehead would start popping out because it's like, why would you do this to... Okay, all right, I guess we're going here.
I am so glad at least my first campaign is not DM versus player versus DM, because I've heard, and I kind of watch a couple of D&D sessions now, mostly with like the Geeks and Gamers guys, and like I've heard guys, they're like, oh no, every time I play D&D, they're like, my whole goal is to fuck with the DM. Like that's it. Like I'm going to build it.
If you're not fucking with the DM, are you even gaming?
No, I want to okay, all right, am I wrong in this? The DM has this story. And I want to experience that story. And so I want to play in a way that I get to experience the hard work that the DM has done. Again, I am a new player. Is that just a new player thing? Will that veneer polish off? Will that just...
It depends on the group. Like, I'm quite sure Daniel will agree with me here. Every group has a different dynamic. For most of my groups, they want to experience the story and the world. The older players will tell the younger players, do what you want. Follow whatever impulse, as long as it's in character, because David can cover it. If you decide to go completely off the script, there is nowhere you can fall off the map with David, because he will have an answer. Even if the question's never been asked before, he'll have an answer because, well, he always has.
Yeah.
So it really
if
does
you've got
come
a
down
good
to the
GM,
group.
it's great for that. Yep.
But wanting to experience the story, that's perfectly fine. There are some GMs that just want to go through the story and see the variations, the little variations that the player makes. And then you get DMs like me who are like, I know better. You all want to see me have an aneurysm. So I have this over arc. and I have the big points. And I've already figured out how you can't avoid most of these big points.
Yep.
And they still skip half of them.
GM, I spent 28 hours creating this campaign. Party members, we're going to go to the next town over and find beer.
But then that's when you get your revenge, where you get them on the smallest thing. One of my most recent favorite things was I got my players so stuck because they met this NPC who came out was all badass and stuff. What's your name? Well, you should already know my name. And that's all he said. At the end of the campaign, they need... No, his name is Well, because there was a comma there. I spent 3.5 hours practicing the cadence to leave a comma that no one caught.
Nice.
And, oh yeah, trust me, I accidentally... Well, because of a lot of drinking, let it slip that was what was going on. I almost got beat for it. I almost got beat because they were like, wait a second. What? He did say... Grr.
That's great. Oh, man. All right. Well, I think one of the questions that I had, how do you do this for 150 episodes? Because you've been doing it for 20 years. You've got the lore. And not only do you have the lore, but you've built it off of your players. You've taken what your players have given you and you've turned it into this wholly expansive world that you're now sharing on YouTube, that you're building all of the time. Nefarious Royce doesn't even know how to respond to that. I really don't. I am a tabletop RPG noob. Like, let that be known. I am absolutely a noob at it. So, that being said, one of my best friends, you guys know him well on the channel, Convoy Bebop, the son of a bitch who coined the term Iron Age Booty Daddy. That guy, he's been playing Dungeons and Dragons. He's been playing Dungeons and Dragons for years, and he's only been in a couple of campaigns, but they were like long campaigns. And then obviously groups fall apart, life happens, kids come along, divorces, and just crazy things happen in life. And so, but he also follows a lot of like Dungeons and Dragons games online. And he has walked me through some of the stories that he's done. And he's walked me and just some of the absolute bonkers crap that has happened. And then I've got some other friends who are also into D&D and have been playing it since they were kids. And then they tell me about the stuff that they've done. So I've heard tons. The whole reason I'm even doing tabletop RPGs is because of the absolute nutso stuff that my friends have told me about. And I went, it just sounds like fun. I want to do the nutso stuff too. Yeah, it was. Well, It was like, man, it's like hanging out with your buddies and just telling outlandish stories. Like tabletop RPG is the best way for adult men to tell the fishing story, right? And every time the fish gets bigger. That's what tabletop RPG is for nerds. Yeah. It's the fish tale for adult nerds. And it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Every time you tell the story, it's just like, wait, what happened? It's like, no, because the first time you catch the fish, it was 6 inches. And then the next time, no, it was 9-inch fish. And then pretty soon, about 4 or 5 years later, that was a fucking trophy winning fish.
I have to water it down. I have gotten called bullshit on so many times on various stories from my insane freaking players. It's like, yeah, he just got a bunch of... He just min-maxed his action economy. Because trying to tell someone that someone figured out a way to get 12 full round actions in one round... Yeah, that was the healer in one of my last campaigns. The one that swore to never attack anyone because they were the person in the group known for finding every crack and min-maxing. And I was like, I don't want you to be an attacker. Okay, I'll be a healer. Everyone's healed. No one can die. Mm-hmm. And then because it wasn't a game that I was running. It was one of the rare games that I got to play. And... unfortunately, after running for that many people for that long a time and having to challenge your brain against so many people trying to rip your world apart, it's not fair to DMs when I play because I know all the tricks in the system. So you
are literally Bane from The Dark Knight, right? You merely adopted the darkness. Mm-hmm. I was born in the darkness, molded by like that's what you sounded like to me. You're just
oh yeah. A friend of mine tried to run a game for me to give me a break, and I blew through 3 weeks of his content in 45 minutes. Because I killed the boss by dropping the ceiling on them because sonic damage ignores hardness and you set them under a roof. Die. Yeah.
That's fair.
Wow. I love how Daniel's just like, that makes sense.
Well, being the guy that always ran the stories every once in a while when one of my buddies was like, I have a story I want to run, and I'm like, I'll play. They're like, no.
I've made the oath to never play again. I've made the oath to never play again because my sister loves me to death. She was running the campaign. She was like, you're too insane and you're completely within the rules that we've set out. So I'm going to let you have one huge badass scene and then I'm killing you. And I'm like, okay, let's see how many elder fucking ancient worm dragons this character can kill. The answer was 14 in one round.
Jesus Christ.
And then I got one shot. And then the healer, who was my character's best buddy, decided to flip the script and go, wait a second, you killed the one guy I actually like. I'm killing that god in one hit. I've got 14 actions. Yep.
Why are you all psychotic?
Well, when you're the GM, you have to know the rules. And so if you know the rules, you're the worst player.
Exactly. You know how it was broken against you and all the ways that you are so glad that they didn't break it. You're like, oh, you're only doing that. And then you realize saying the word only is a death trap. So, that's what you're doing.
Yep. Even at level 1, just the knowledge of how the system works is essentially like Neo from the Matrix.
Exactly.
That's I have a lot to learn. I absolutely have just a crap ton to learn about. But out of all of the people that I've talked to who have been playing tabletop RPGs for years, I never stop having fun with listening to, because I've literally, like you said, talk with, my buddies about it. And they're like, oh, we were playing this campaign. And I'm like, tell me about it. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, start at the beginning. And they're like, you sure, bro? It is more fun for me to listen to my friends who are engaging in whatever game they're engaging in and just tell me about the absolute bonkers, like dude, Convoy Bebop's shit was insane. Like, and I will sit there and just listen to them because I do a lot of driving for my job, right? This is where I get to call people and talk with them. It's like, oh, I've got a 2.5 hour drive to this one place, so I call people, and I just listen to a few of my friends, Convoy Bebop, and a couple other guys that I've known through my Airsoft channel, and they'll just tell me about the stories, and I'll just be driving. Are you still there? Yep, just listening. It's more fun for me to listen to these absolute chaos that they're telling me about in the tabletop RPGs than it is for like me to listen to a podcast or music, you know, because every so often I get to interject and go, wait a minute. And the podcast listens to me because it's just my friend telling me about their tabletop. And I'm like, hold on. I missed something. And I'm like, how the fuck? They're like, well, remember I told you about this thing the last time we talked? Yes. They're like, okay, well, that thing played into this. And I'm like, oh my God, I forgot about that. Like,
oh, I know that pain.
This is me driving in my truck just trying to get to work. I'm not like running the game. I'm just an innocent bystander trying to talk with my friends.
Just wait till you ask about time travel.
No, I'm not. No, I would almost refuse to play a game that had I just time travel. I am almost convinced most people will not do time travel correctly.
Yeah.
Hi. At one point, I was keeping track of 3.5 different timelines for the echo effects between all of them. And yes, I said a half because the timeline has self-sealing mechanisms for paradoxes.
Interesting.
What? Okay, I'm not gonna go there.
Yeah, the things gamer nerds get up to.
What the hell? Like, it's not even a thing. And I understood what you just said too, but to track all of that is annoying.
Painful. So, yes, it is.
Richard,
it is
when you
very
were
fulfilling. Go ahead, Richard.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to ask. So, whenever you were DMing, like, what kind of a time commitment was this? You know, like that.
Back when we were really playing, I was spending minimum 30 to 40 hours brainstorming over what had happened, where I wanted to happen. It sounds like a
full-time job.
Oh, absolutely, and I loved it. I mean, if it wasn't for the insanity of the last few years, a few unfortunate events, I'd still be doing it. The only reason I really got the channel started was game had kind of died off for the reasons I've described. And honestly, the Realms has always been planned to be released as a setting for other people to enjoy. Like, every one of my players has known, I am eventually releasing this. You are part of something that is eventually getting printed and put out. So I've always been fairly consistent in that. And so it's a lot of time before game, during game. Game, depending on which campaign we're talking about, we're talking game sessions between 8 to 12 hours. Oof. Mostly because we just sit there and play, and it's like, do we want a meal break? Yeah, I'm going to go down to this place. I'm grabbing this. Oh, I got to go get a couple more bottles from the store because liquor store's about to close. Because there's no way I did this without a shit ton of liquor.
$6.99 Domino's pizzas.
Bingo!
Yep.
But
yeah, man,
you're looking at, other than playtime, a minimum of 20 hours of prep per week.
Oh.
But the thing is it didn't really feel like that much because my brain was working on it anyway. Because my brain likes to extrapolate. And what can I extrapolate and absolutely know that I am right? My world. So I can sit there and go, okay, they did this because they said this, and this is the precedent, but that doesn't feel right. Why doesn't that feel right? And then I spend a few hours going through all the knowledge and going, oh, this is why it doesn't work, or this is why it does work, or they found a hole. How do I plug it before everyone destroys the world? Which has been a goal once or twice, but
not surprised.
Oh, absolutely. Like, once they figured out that the vein popping out is something that they could trigger, it became a game for them. The scariest day for them was one day they got the vein pulsing, and then I was like, whoo! And vein disappeared, and they all got silent. They were like, uh-oh, we stepped into something.
That sounds awesome. Right. That sounds so great.
Yeah, it can be fun. I mean, and really what he's doing is what a lot of authors do. It's just spending their day dreaming up potential scenarios. And those potential scenarios eventually become scenes in your story. So, I mean, this is basically everything he's described all night so far is how I learned to write stories that I've written, is just playing D&D and thinking up variables. If they do this, what's going to happen?
If they don't do this, what's going to happen? That's the hard one to figure out. That's
my favorite one.
Don't. Yeah, but that one takes a lot more to think about.
It depends on the circumstance. Like with the earlier analogy of party goes to the next town over looking for beer. For me, that's okay, fine. That just means the evil knows that you're coming eventually and has shored up its defenses. Now you have to fight more things.
Right. That's one of the things that, like, you know, talking with Black Knight about his Star Shatter series, a lot of the things that happened, like in his books, he rolled for. Mm-hmm. Like he actually rolled for it.
Randomosity is a lot of fun
and that's what helped him. You know, with character decisions and things like that. And he obviously knew what his characters would do, but he was like, let's, you know, to see how this all plays out. And so, you know, but Black Knight, you know, talking with Black Knight about because Black Knight's put about the same amount of time into Star Shatter as you have, you know, Gemma Mar. And it's just to see. It's interesting because I get to talk with, and I'm just going to call you an author of a tabletop at this point, like, but it's interesting to just for the sake of this, just for the sake of what I'm about to say, talking with new authors versus talking with guys that have been working on something for 20 years, you can see the differences. You can see that the new authors, they're trying to work out those things that you guys maybe already have. Yeah. And you guys have entered the complexity of problem, because the problems are already there, but for a new author, it's times 1. And as they keep going and they have to keep asking, it's times 2, times 8. Well, once you're 20 years into it and you can work through the problems faster, you guys are working on like times 30, you know, problem times 30, this many characters, the world has a lore now, all of this stuff. And it's really interesting to see the difference between in the beginning, like stages, and guys that have been doing it for 15 or 20 years. So
yeah,
I can hear you talking about it with all the experience that you have, with the enthusiasm that you have after 20 years of this. When it started, what was one of the very first problems or very first things that really got you stuck? The one that you felt like you cut your teeth on that problem, like that was, and it might not be your first problem, but what's the one that comes to mind?
The one that immediately comes to mind is one of the first second edition adventures. I was playing it with a very good friend of mine.
Which one?
She is my sister.
No, I mean the adventure.
It actually was I don't want to say a parody, but I took a lot of liberties with the module out of that particular, I think it was Dungeon Magazine. Yeah, Dungeon was the Adventures. Dragon was the back when they had Dungeon and Dragon. The two. One was Adventures, and I took an adventure out of that and I adapted it. And the player was playing the very, very early version of Dragon Knights from my setting. And one of the Dragon Knight's abilities is if the dragon has this ability at will, so do you. She had Charm Person because she took a crystal dragon. She went through the entire dungeon going, Charm Person! And the other character, head chopped off. Charm Person, head cut off.
The persuasion game.
Wow.
Not just the fact you failed your save because I have a 26 DC and we're level 1 characters. You're not making that. I'm like, oh my God. Okay, got to adjust that class. But because of the rule of precedence within JamMR, because I reward players that find holes, they get to keep their broken stuff because they're the exception to the rule I just made to stop that from breaking the setting.
Fair.
So I found a lot of holes in my settings by rewarding my players for finding them. And I really do think it's made the setting a lot more robust.
Well, you know, that kind of follows I mean, honestly, that's kind of one of the, you always have characters like that in some of the most popular things out there. I mean, whether it's anime or fantasy or, you know, sword and sorcery, you always have that one guy that can do that one thing because they just can. Now, obviously, now you have an out of world, you know, reason. It's like my player found the hole, they get to keep the thing. Well, why does this guy get to do it? Just because they always have. But why? Because they always have. And that's just the explanation in the world. And there are characters like that through popular media all over the place. And it just so happens you just had people that found those rules and had to screw with the DM. That's really cool, though, that you remember that after, I mean, dude, second edition was, fuck, when did second edition come out? That was...
Second edition enjoyed its 20th anniversary. I think it was the 25th anniversary my senior year of high school in 2000.
Holy shit. So, what? It's going on...
I'd say late 70s, mid 80s, roughly.
So we're 40. So we're 40 years away from that, and like, but that's, dude.
Second Ed also gave you the 8 attack level 1 ninja, so I don't want to hear anything about it.
Do you remember second edition monks? I touch you, you're dead. You're level 1. I know you're dead.
Yeah, poke, dead.
I saw Geeks and Gamers.
What was it? Like, what was it? It was like 46 or no 48, I believe it was for for the monk physical attack. Yeah, it was nuts. If you min maxed your monk character
4d8,
maximum 32 points of damage per attack.
Plus strength
at level 1.
The strength bonus,
not counting strength bonus. Yeah.
Do you remember? Do you remember having the pride of going, my fighter has 18 double aught?
Yeah. Double aught.
I don't. I literally lost him. I don't.
Yeah,
Richard, I don't know what
old ass.
Yeah, I don't know.
Richard, I think you and I are both like. But okay, I understand.
We've gone full nerd, him and I.
Yeah, in second edition, because they wanted fighters to be able to keep up with wizards. If you rolled an 18 on your strength, which is the maximum on the dice, you rolled percentage dice and had a secondary modifier from 1 to double aught, 100.
Which is technically 100, yeah.
When they converted it to 3-0, 18 double aught strength, check me, Daniel, I believe was 22.
Yes.
If I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was 22.
Because that's how they made it. Yep. If you had 18 double odd strength, anything you hit almost melted in the first 3 levels.
Yeah, it was like every 25% was a +1 to your base strength. So
yep.
Yeah, you would dish out some serious freaking physical damage
as a level 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
that's retarded.
AD&D, when they came out with advanced classes, the whole system just crashed. Everybody was like, "Look, we can do insane shit." And I'm pretty sure Gygax was like, I'm fairly certain Gygax looked at that and went, "What the fuck, people?"
I actually played for a disciple of Gygax at a con back in, I think it was 01. And you just don't find DMs like that anymore. It took 10 experienced players because he had the mistake of the con had put up, we want 10 level 10 characters.
Okay.
He wanted 10 level 1 characters. So he decided to go off the cuff. It took us 4.5 hours to open the dungeon door after finding it. You don't find DMs like that much anymore. I learned so much in that session.
Jeez, man, that I will say this from what I'm like, I kind of realize now why they say that the new D&D is just not like, it's so just dumbed down, like 5e is just, people are like, yeah, 5e is just not. And I will say this, we're playing off, like I said, a modified 3.5. I prefer the modified
of good.
I prefer the modified 3.5 over the that I've been playing versus the 5e, because I played a little bit of that, because it's so user accessible that it really doesn't make you think about character crafting.
No.
And that feels like a critical part of D&D or any tabletop is character crafting and how the mechanics work with the character. And 5e, from the limited experience that I had with it, just didn't feel like that mattered. The mechanics didn't matter to how you crafted the character. It just...
Yeah, well, it's called theory crafting. It's become a whole big thing over the last couple of decades. But back then it was basically just, how do we break the system? That was the design, was how do we break the system? And that's where you got the 8 attack level 1 ninja from in 2nd edition, is people figured out how they could min-max their stats to a point where they could attack so many times in a round. So it didn't really matter how much damage you were doing because you were attacking constantly in one round, which is or psionics. Oh my gosh,
I have infinite power. Give me 5 minutes to rest, and all my power points are back. How?
Yep.
This rule, this rule, this rule, and this rule. Were they meant to go together? No, but it didn't say I couldn't.
Correct. And if it doesn't say you can't, it's fine. And that's that was the thing behind it.
Basically, just find a really nerdy D&D player to be your lawyer if you ever.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That's
every group has one, right? Every group has a gamer lawyer who knows the rules and will argue the effect to a point where you can't fight it.
Well, the funny thing I had is I had 2 players that were like that, and they always argued with each other. And then I made a critical mistake. If you 2 will stop fucking arguing for 3 weeks, I will give you 3 levels.
No, don't do that.
Deal.
Let them.
And
argue.
I realized I had fucked up. That was record scratch moment. Shit! And the entire group tried to poke them into fighting with each other for 3 weeks, and they were just like, nope, I'm getting those 3 levels. I'm getting those 3 levels.
And then they min-maxed like motherfuckers, didn't they?
Absolutely.
At one point, I told them, okay, figure it out, go fight in the arena, because there's an arena in Jamamar that, due to all the enchantments there, everyone is allowed to fight full on because you get insta-revived at the point of death. Like, gods have poured in enchantments on top of the original ones because it's a vent for them. Because very few of the high tier characters can actually flex without breaking the planet, except in the arena. And I told them, okay, you guys go to the arena, figure out who's the toughest. We're getting close to done with that particular session. We're going out for a cigarette. Hey, where are you guys at? We're almost done with round 1. 5.5 hours later.
And these were the lawyers?
Yep.
Or the game lawyers, as it were?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
I love Daniel's just like, none of this surprise. What the fuck?
The longest combat I have ever had in a full party combat is 7.5 hours for 6 seconds. One round of combat took 7.5 hours because everyone was like, oh, this is a badass. I'm pulling out all my tricks.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I don't.
Time stop rotation.
Nick Enlow. I don't know much about TTRPGs. I'm just nodding along. Right, I agree. Nick, I got you, boo. I got you. Like,
we'll put it this way: these are the types of characters I've made. These types of characters. These are the types of characters I'll use as an example. I made a character who killed using bleed damage. He didn't actually fight anything. All he did was hug it.
I hate you.
All he had to do was correctly grapple.
Touch.
Yep.
Oh,
I will say this. So in not obviously tabletop, but obviously video game RPGs are built off of the D&D. Like they just are.
Yeah.
I am the type of person, the second that you give me the ability to min-max and start stacking stats, by the time in a video game, I am up to level 5, which generally happens rather quickly. I am becoming mostly unstoppable. Like, the first boss that I run into might give me a little problem. You give me the ability in a video game to start min-maxing and really start tweaking my character and start doing all the math and going, okay, like, if I have access to, and now, you know, because most RPG games are just gay and they're like, oh no, you can't go get this thing. Why? Because you have to, no, because you have to be this level. I'm like,
you must complete this particular thing in order to move forward.
But it's right, but it's here, and I need it for this stat, and it's right here, and you won't let me do it. And they're like, well, no, because that's later on and they fucking lock you from it. See, old school games didn't do that shit. Old school games had holes that you could exploit.
Oh yeah.
Infinite money glitches, various, like, again, by the time I was level 5, I was the type of guy that I was just like, I'm just gonna walk through the rest of the game. And I did. And it was one of those
until you hit that RPG that planned for you to be a min-maxer, and then you're like, oh, you're the boss that punishes me for the entire... I forget which game it was, but there's a game on one of the systems that actually hit based off the number of inventory items or steps you took or something like that. Mm-hmm. So if you were a min-maxer, it punished you for being a min-maxer. Oh. It was such a great experience because it was like, the designers were ready for this. Shit, where's the hole in their logic? They have to have a hole.
Yep. Yeah, Nick Enlow down in the chat says, see, that's the second playthrough for me, and that's if like the video game a TON first playthrough I like a stupid thing is in my way. I can't read it. I like a real challenge per battle, but I know most don't do that. I'll agree with that. I will absolutely agree with that. Yeah,
any gamer knows your first playthrough is for fun. Your second playthrough is to break.
Yes. No, that's what
depends on the game. It might be your second playthrough is to play the other side of the story, depending on how well the story.
Well, actually, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's
more of a modern game thing. I'm talking about old school games.
Fair.
Your first playthrough is just to enjoy the story. Your second playthrough is to see how fast you can break the game.
Mm-hmm.
Final Fantasy so fun. Airship before the fire cavern. Anyone?
Dino Island.
Richard, what the fuck just happened?
Final Fantasy
I don't know.
III
I've
had
been a little bit lost for a while now.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
Final Fantasy III had an island that was located off the map, only accessible by airship, called Dinosaur Island. It only spawned dinosaurs, and there were 2 types. They gave massive amounts of XP, but the second type of dinosaur was meant to be a punish for players that were trying to min-max. So it was more powerful. It gave more XP, though. So if you were smart, you could basically save camp and play up and build a bunch of levels and save every couple of encounters.
And then
if you encountered the Bronto and died, you just respawn at your save point and go back to building levels again.
That isn't how you deal with Dino.
You could.
No, you made sure you had Invisible and X Zone because that broke everything.
Yeah,
don't
that's
even
true.
play. Don't play with me.
If you didn't have it built up at that point,
I love this shit. This is so great.
I turned you invisible.
Invisible X Zone was a cheat set of 2 abilities that could kill anything.
Because Invisible gave you 100% physical immunity, but 100% magical vulnerability. So you invisible the enemy, and then you hit him with the one-shot kill.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was something the game devs hadn't even considered when they were designing it, and it totally broke the grind system.
All right, I just have to ask you guys, just because, how many souls have you destroyed in your existences?
I don't like to testify to things that might come up in court, so no.
Like, you guys are just like, these people spent years working on things that, like, are now just, like, time-tested and just, like, true things. And at the time that they were popular, the game devs were just like, they broke this thing that we put our souls into.
Mm-hmm.
In,
no.
5 minutes.
I paid my penance. Because I let my players do that same shit to me. Hey, do you remember that bullshit item you gave me like 14 adventures ago that was meant to just be cool? What happens if I do this?
Yep.
Fuck!
So the Chronicler story about the fountain is actually inspired by a D&D campaign. That's where I came up with the idea of the slow ring that stopped time by accident.
Interesting. A little spoiler for issue number 2 here, but it's public, so
Yep, it is public. It's been on the ironage.media website for a long time. You can find it if you want. But yeah, the Chroniclers and the Frozen Fountain was inspired by a D&D campaign and a enchanted item gone horribly awry.
That's a story.
Jesus. David, I got to give you this. This is probably the most that Daniel has ever talked on an Iron Age Nights.
You just got to get us old grognards together. It's us old grognards, especially the ones that have gone through the multiple systems that go, but wait a second, this used to work. Why doesn't it work now? And you go and you look at it and you're like, fuck, I got to grandfather that rule in. Son of a... Okay, but you're not allowed to tell anyone about that rule because I'm trying to convert to this new rule system.
Yeah, and what's fun about it is I used to play multiple systems. It wasn't just D&D. I played White Wolf's Vampire the Masquerade, Werewolf the Apocalypse. I played Shadowrun. I played Big Eye Small Mouth, which was basically an anime version of a role-playing game, which was phenomenal because it was the simplest dice system, but it had the most open source build you could do. You could build mechs. You could do One Punch Man,
I think GURPS actually beat out Big Eye.
GURPS got really complicated, though. The longer it went on, it got super complicated. Big Eye Small Mouth was just like, it's all based on 6-sided dice, and you can do whatever you want. Yeah.
But as we're talking about dead game systems, and these guys are just like, What
like,
the fuck are they talking about? But yeah, no.
The more
Shadowrun-
systems you play, the more ideas you get, and the more interesting your storylines become. And that's just like writing. The more work you do, the more things you dream up, the more intricate your stories become. It's
Oh
it is
yeah,
what
that's
it is.
why I included rules from various systems, because in early JamMR games roles, because the great bad guy of the system while they were playing was the Damon Vanson, who was a chaos demon. And there were other rule systems that did chaos way better than D&D. So I just grabbed their fucking tables because guess what? It works.
True. I played
Ars
Magica for about 6 months, one campaign. That was it. It was an intricate system, but I never had an opportunity to break it.
Yeah, that's one I didn't catch on to.
It didn't really get a lot of attention. Like, there was a big fanfare when it came out, and then it just sort of just faded.
Honestly, unless you are FAFSA or TSR, it's really freaking hard to get that attention. And these guys are looking like, what the hell is he talking about, FAFSA? You know FAFSA.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I mean, that's one of the dreams. If I ever won the lotto, I'd buy all the FAFSA properties to put them back in-house, because I want Shadowrun and Earth Dawn back together. God damn it.
Yeah, Shadowrun was cool. Cyberpunk.
When you need to roll a when you need to roll a bathtub worth of D6s, except no substitutes. Shadowrun 2nd edition.
Nah, I'll fight that with Rift. Rifts
is cool, but I had to roll 400 dice.
Yeah, Rifts you could get to a point where you had to dump a whole bag of dice.
Okay, gentlemen. Not only are you losing your co-host, even the chat's going, what the fuck? Take time to introduce us to how do you say it? Whatever the fuck you're talking about.
All right, so Rifts was a multi-dimensional role-playing game that was put out a long time ago. It was sort of the predecessor to the concept of GURPS, which was to take intellectual properties and turn them into role-playing games. But Rifts got so complicated that you would literally have to roll like boxes full of dice in order to figure out what the hell was happening. It just bloated so badly that you could not figure it out in a simplified handful. You had to just hundreds of dice involved, especially when you got into mech combat. The mech system was ultra
Glitter
complicated.
boys.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But
it was super complicated.
Simplify it. There is a reason why the older grognards will go 80s game design. And this is what we are talking about. Because back in the 80s, when they're still figuring out how to make these role-playing games, they over-engineered the rules.
Correct.
For example, Shadowrun, one of my favorite game systems, has this rule called the Chunky Salsa rule, which is the rules for determining how a grenade's damage multiplies in a contained structure.
Yep.
Oh, fuck that.
Smaller the space, bigger the impact.
That's not how that fucking works.
Yes, it is. Actually. Here,
you throw a grenade in a trash can. The force multiplier.
No, not a trash can, because a grenade would destroy a trash can.
I was gonna say you would have okay. If you're gonna get into structural resistances and all that stuff, and you're actually in a building. Okay, grenade versus drywall, the resistance of drywall not necessarily going to increase the pressure differential that would cause a lot more damage. Grenade versus concrete room that is small enough to complain. Okay, now you're going to increase the pressure differential. Okay, all right. Yes, so
it included all of that.
That's fucking retarded.
It is.
But that was 80s game design. So if you ever hear an old grognard go, it's 80s game design, that because they were trying to be that specific. Because originally Shadowrun was supposed to be as close to physics as they could get with dice.
Yeah.
So if you threw a grenade into a concrete fucking safe room, you pasted everybody.
Pretty much. Raving Dad Gaming coming in with the leg clip.
He's not wrong.
Yep.
He's not wrong.
For anybody that's thrown an M80 into a trash can, you'll know what we're talking about.
Wasn't an M80. and he did it to himself.
If you'll excuse me for just a moment, I gotta tap a kidney. I'll be
Oh,
right.
you're good.
You're good, man.
Yeah, no. All right, so I'm going to tell this story from my perspective from 16 or 17 years ago.
Story time.
Oh, yeah. So, Raving Dead Gaming. Let's pull that up again. Let's pull that up again. Royce, you should know about booms. You lit me on fire, bro. Big boom. So, I am visiting my cousin. And that's who Raving Dad Gaming is. He's my cousin. I was out at his house for a month. After 2-3 weeks of abuse? No, I think it was 2 weeks. Because the third week, we damn near cut my finger off, which, where's that scar? That's right there. Sword fighting with real swords, not a bright idea. But anyway. So that was fun. Hey, that's a good idea. I wish I would have thought of that 17 years ago. Anyway. So my my aunt, my cousin's mom says, "Hey, I need you guys to do a couple chores around the house today." And one of the chores was take the trash out. I'm like, all right, so we go collect all the trash up in the house. Not much, just like one bag, maybe 2 bags through the whole house, right? To like just the small trash. Wait, and I'm like, hey, dude, I was like, I got an idea. I was like, why don't we take the trash bags outside? We'll throw them in the 50-gallon burn barrel, and we'll throw the trash in there. We'll light the burn barrel. I was like, kill 2 birds with 1 stone. We're bored as hell today. We need something to do. We're obviously putting the fire in the burn barrel because we're not
aluminum or actual canister.
No, steel. It's a 50. Nice. It's a 50-gallon oil drum. Like it's a burn barrel. Dude, we're country kids. Come the fuck on. So he's like, yeah, dude. So we get the trash gathered up, and he's texting somebody. I can't remember what he was doing. Oh, he had to go to the bathroom or something. So he goes to the bathroom. So I take the trash out. I throw the trash in the burn barrel. A lot of plastic in this. So I grab the gasoline can. I dump a little bit of gasoline on there, and it all pools on the top of the thing. And I'm like, well, that's just going to light on top. That's not going to. So I open up the plastic bag. The gasoline drips down to the bottom. Here comes my cousin, Raving Dad Gaming, texting on his phone. I don't even remember who he's texting. And he gave me his... God, I can't... I don't think I can say that word on YouTube. I've told this story for 17 years. I don't think I can... GIMP. Can I say that on you? He gave me this broke-ass lighter, and, he had to, hold your hand, a certain way to get it lit. So I'm trying to light it. Cannot get this stupid Bic lighter lit. And so I finally get it lit, and I go to light the thing, and it blows out. And I'm like, ugh. So I turn around. Now here he comes, right? So he's coming around. I'm like, hey, dude, I can't get the lighter lit. This thing is a piece of shit. You need to light it. And he goes, and he's texting. He goes, yeah, I can light it. I'm like, by the way, I poured gasoline on it, so be very careful. So oh no, it gets better. So my cousin sits there, he lights the thing, wind blows it out, lights the thing, wind blows it out. And he's like, what the hell? So he grabs the trash bag, picks it up, lights it, trash bag starts to go up because there's a little bit on there. And he grabs and he sets the trash, and the trash goes to fall over the can. So and we don't want it to burn the grass and stuff like that. So he grabs it and shoves it down into the burn barrel where the rest of the gasoline is.
Boom!
Dude, it sounded like a shotgun went off.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And when it went off, my cousin's arm is now in the flames, and I think he was north of 200 pounds at the time, is now up off of the ground with a flame coming off of the side of his head. And he hit the deck, and I thought I killed him. I was like, oh my God. And he hits the deck, all of the flames go out, thank God. And he goes, my arm! And I lost my shit.
Yep. Yep.
And he had no hair on this side of his arm. The left side of his head was froed out. He could smell burning hair in his nose for 2 weeks.
Oh yeah. You get caught by the trash fire. It
didn't blow you across the yard. It did. You did come up off the ground about. I'm not even kidding you, dude. He went airborne. It hit him so. I mean, dude, out of a burn barrel. It's they're what 3.5 foot tall, about what a foot round. 12 inches round.
Yeah.
A burn barrel.
Maybe a little more.
It shot a 15-foot flame out of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, like a cannon, lifted his ass off the ground. It was. I was dying. It was great. I've
done plenty of trash burns. I used to live in
I do.
Minnesota.
I actually need to get. I told the guys I would eventually do a. He's yelling at me in the chat. Sorry, my cousin's yelling. This is a 17-year-old debate. It's it's the fish story.
I bet
it's a fish story, right? I'm going to tell my version of the fish story. He's going to tell his version of the fish. I'm pretty sure when I used to tell the story, it was a 10-foot flame that shot out of the barrel. Now it's up to 15. Like, this is the fish.
It'll be 20 next decade.
It'll be 20, yeah. So, but no, it didn't shoot you across the yard. When it hit him, I think he went to go move back and he probably landed. He probably hit the ground about 5 feet from where he started. And but he was airborne. Right. He was airborne in the air and falling. I mean, his feet were, fun times.
Never underestimate the body's desire to avoid damage.
We did not avoid damage at all.
No. Instinct avoided
damage. Oh, no,
That's how we made it 5 feet.
All right, and just to humiliate myself, I won't tell that story now because we do have to get to Super Chats, but I will. You guys, remind me on Sunday Coffee to tell you the story about how I damn near burnt my nipples off. In this same visit with my cousin, we brutally hurt each other. Sunday, yeah, that was bad. I made a noise even at 16 that I didn't think I could make. It was quite bad. So if you guys would like to hear that story, remind me on Sunday Coffee. But make a comment once the VOD goes up for this. Make a comment on this. I do read all the comments. But
go up a couple of octaves.
Bad, dude. My aunt who was a nurse almost took me to the hospital. It was bad. like skin boiling bad. So yeah, we'll tell you about that story just so that way Raving Dad Gaming knows I'm being fair because that was I'm genuinely surprised we survived that summer.
Oh yeah. I mean,
I'm just, dude, two kids in a small
completely.
2 kids in a small town with nothing to do. We will find something to do. And my aunt had
of a town.
My aunt had no idea that I lit her son on fire with the burn barrel and that we almost cut my finger off with a sword until about 2 or 3 years later.
Oh yeah,
she had no. She and then when she finally got told, she was like, "What the fuck were you guys doing while I was at work?"
How small of a town?
Like 150 people.
Ooh,
yeah, a small town.
Lowry.
Yeah,
286 in Lowry, where I grew up.
Yeah, no. Raving Dad Gaming. How big was your town? It was it wasn't much more than 200, was it? Was it even 200? I don't remember. It was a small town in Missouri.
The country just came out of Royce. There, did you hear it?
Shut
up. Wasn't much more than.
Dude, wait until I get really bad. I tell people all the time, I'm like, yeah, it used to could to be this way. People are like, what the fuck did you just say? I'm like,
fuck it's used to could. Yep.
Don't you want to go about?
I was like, no, dude, I look at people all the time. I'm like, yeah, you could want to turn that off before it starts. And they're like, what the? Yeah. 464. So, yeah. All right, guys, let's get to some of the super chats. Like I said, I will, to be fair to my cousin, I will tell the burning. It wasn't quite the nipples, but it could have been. That was.
I knew a guy who lost one to a French fry fryer.
Ah! Oh
Yeah.
no!
Pressure pop, man. Yeah, that thing exploded.
None of that sounds good, dude.
It was horrible.
Dude, French fried nips. No. Oh man.
Body horror. Not expected tonight, but
Popped
deserved.
like a geyser, man. That fryer was just
pressure cookers, man. Pressure cookers.
To flip the story a bit and make it a bit more funny, y'all remember when Beanie Babies were a thing?
Oh, yeah.
I worked at a McDonald's during the second season of Beanie Babies.
No.
End of one night, I think it was the first night that they had re-released. The manager was so angry. End of the night, we're shutting down. He takes a Beanie Baby and throws it in the fryer. The entire staff walks around the fryer to watch it melt. We were so angry. Yeah.
And then
people talked about.
I wish I hadn't burned that.
People
Probably
talked about the Beanie Babies
$100,000.
like they were the next stock investment that was going to save your future.
Dude, those things sold for
speculator
insane amounts of money.
Do you know how much I got offered to break into the office to get the Beanie Babies a week before release?
And enough or not enough?
Not enough.
Okay, there's only two answers here. There's enough and there's not enough. Which one?
It takes a high amount for me to abandon my principles.
No, I get. I just had to ask the question. All right, over here, Lord Otter. Lord Otter for Fight. Wait, do we have any Rumble chats? We do not have any Rumble chats. Okay, I just want to double check that because I like to give shout outs to Rumble first for no other reason than just because.
Rumble is free speech. Screw them.
Well, it's not quite free speech, but it's better. All right, the Lord Otter over here on YouTube for $5 says, "See, you're going up in the world, Royce. Now you're being visited by fantasy gods."
Well, thank you.
Not wrong.
I could be maybe okay with that, depending on the. I don't know. I think about that.
Worse by better people.
Shit, Lord Otter. Maji Chan says, "Hey guys, I just wanted you to know. I think there's a you to know that you all are pretty amazing. Keep up the good fight." And that is from Maji Chan for $5. Thank you so much,
Thank you, Maji Chan.
Raving Dad Gaming, my cousin, as I said. How do you make up the story? Do you just make it however you want? So that I know how he's asking this. He means this more seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is definitely more of a serious question because I know he's asking from like trying to help with his book writing.
Yep.
All right. My process personally is I decide what the threat, the bad guy, the antagonist is aiming to do. And he has a plan. And that plan has to adjust to whatever the idiot players are doing. Wait a second, my warehouse blew up? Well, good thing I had 4 warehouses. Wait a minute, you mean they took out half the continent? Okay. It's a lot of contemplation, extrapolation, and guesswork, to be completely honest. Like, there is an outline, but as you get, at least for me, as I've gotten longer in the tooth as a DM, I stopped trying to corral or guess what my players were going to do. Because anytime I guessed, I would be wrong. So I just focused on what the bad guys were going to do and how they reacted. Just like in reality. Well, everything becomes reactionary. The good guys, the bad guys, the helpers, everyone. Just like in real life. if you think about it, all we do a lot of the time, unless you are instigating something, is reacting to something. So why shouldn't your game be the same way?
True.
Can you use those same things for writing a book, Daniel?
Sort of, yes. A lot of it is. So the general way to produce, at least in fiction, is villain acts, hero reacts. That's the standard, which is the villain sets the precedent for what's going on. They create the inciting incident. The hero reacts to that incident, and that's the dynamic that goes. The hero reacts, the villain then reacts to their reaction, and it dovetails from there, like David was saying. From what I tend to do is think about both. Go ahead.
I ask a question just for my own? Can the inciting incident be off screen, as in like before the book begins?
Oh, of course.
Yes.
Like,
absolutely.
so like the hero is already, say, kind of partially on the journey. Like he's not necessarily like a level 1. He's like a level 3 or 4 at this point.
Oh yeah.
And then you
can
kind
power
of reveal
anyway.
You like reveal the inciting incident later. Is that also?
Yep.
Yeah, you can.
Valid.
Okay. No,
especially if the inciting incident is buried under levels, especially if you're playing some political intrigue, for a good example.
Yeah, that's a good example.
If Army A occupies town B, and that's what gets your players to go fight the power, they might not learn about Incident A until halfway through the campaign because they're busy focused on the guy who took over their town. And then they realize, wait a second, he was just following orders from the guy who's been giving us jobs.
Yeah.
What?
Okay.
Yep. One of my favorite fantasy sort of fiction stories is by an author named Roger Zelazny, which is The Chronicles of Amber. When it starts, the main character actually has amnesia, so he doesn't remember anything about his past. So you're experiencing a whole world full of background for the first time through a character who doesn't remember any of it. So you get to experience it all with them in sort of real time that way. But it also sets up the precedent that this whole history of shit has happened up to the start of the first sentence of the first book, that all these things have happened already, and your PC, your main character, has now experienced them in retrospect in a sort of way. So it is possible. It just, you have to use certain tropes in order to make it work correctly.
Okay. No, that's really cool. And for those of you who are wondering, you guys just saw the ADWC tips and tricks of writing. So
damn, we proved him right.
Yep.
No, I didn't give the tips and tricks.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
I didn't give any tips and tricks. Sorry, oh my God.
One of those, while we got a slight lull, I will say one of those tips and tricks is to make sure that you get good rest and wake up early so that you can write while your brain is fresh. So I'm going to use this.
Oh, he is punking out. He is punking out. Hey, Richard. Hey, give us the elevator pitch. What are you working on, man? Give us the elevator pitch.
Anvilmagazine.com, the issue number 2. The campaigns will be wrapping up at the end of the month. I think next Friday they should still be open. So, and I'm going to leave the Indiegogo one on in demand for a while. I'm not sure what the process is for going to in demand with FMC. But second issue is looking fantastic already. I'm really pumped to start getting some previews out there. Hopefully we'll get it printed within the very beginning of September. Either way, I'm very confident that shipping will be happening on October 2nd. And the third issue, submission window closes on the 30th of August. So please
Get close.
Yeah, get it in there. We're just a few thousand words shy of 400,000 words in consideration.
As Eric July says, get in where you fit in.
Yep. Yep.
Like,
so
give me your stories.
What's that, David? I'm sorry.
What's the word count you're looking for submissions?
2,000 to 8,000 words. So
fair enough.
2,000 to 8,000. Yeah, sorry, I should clarify. But it's
so minimum of 2,000 words.
Yes.
Maximum of 8. So okay.
Yeah, and we are also looking for comics. And if you have an established like review channel, website, something like that, I would be willing to talk to you about doing a review or something like that. So
have you thought about, because again, we've had a few of them on tabletop RPG, card game creators, advertisements for that.
If we will probably have advertisements for the 3rd issue. I'm still working on the details.
Okay. No, I just want to ask.
But 3rd issue is going to be coming out in February, not on like January 1st. So there's going to be a slight lull. There's a little extra time to work on that. And
so what the holiday.
So tabletop guys. We may actually have some people who might reach video game demo, alpha, beta testing by that time. There's a few guys out there that are getting real close to getting to that point too. Are you open to that for Anvil?
I'm okay for advertising on anything that is. I'm open to listening to.
Okay.
A pitch on anything for advertising.
So reach out to Richard, and if your elevator pitch is good, he might just
don't
work
reach out to me quite yet.
Well, yeah.
Wait until
leave him alone
a little bit in
now.
September. Wait for all of the submissions
send
to
all
come in
feet pictures to ironage.
Yeah, send the pictures to editor at
ironage.media.
No. Anyway, that's how I pay him, Anyway, so.
Oh, well done.
It's
well done.
There's been some budgeting requirements. So anyway,
your relationship with each other just got really weird. Very
no. Anyway, I don't know. I'm fading fast. I don't.
You're good,
even
man.
know what I'm saying. So you guys have a good one. Oh,
have a good one.
Yeah, the interview with Blaine Lee Pardo and Michael Bancroft. I went over what's in the 2nd issue. If you want to hear me talk about it, that's a good place. I'll also talk about it on my Sunday night chill stream. So catch that on my
awesome
YouTube channel.
man.
And at at Anvil Magazine.
Yep, the link's down below.
Always forget that.
Yes. You can follow at Anvil Magazine on Twitter or Iron Age Media on Twitter, or you can go to ironage.media and find links.
Known as Twitter.
So, all right, thank you guys. Have a good one, and
have a good night, man.
For joining us.
Thank you.
Good night, Richard.
Night.
Have a good one.
Daniel, yours and Richard's relationship just got really weird really fast.
What? Because
Deep
of Iron
lore.
Feet?
I didn't need to know certain things. All right.
Iron Feet. How fast did the meme come out for the Iron Feet?
It's a calendar.
With some of our guys, it might be pretty quick. Raving Dad Gaming for $2 says, sword fight first, then boom, then burnt nipples. Yeah, that's
the timeline.
That is the
Wait a second. Royce, are you a sword fighter?
No, that's why I almost cut my middle fucking finger off.
That's why he almost lost his finger, yeah.
We were doing some really cool shit with the rope swing and actual swords, and yeah, it was
stupid kids doing stupid things.
It sounded like a good idea at a time.
Oh God, that was a campaign name.
Yeah, it sounded like a good idea at the time. Yeah, it was,
yep, Isselgot.
Isselgot, right?
Yep. No, that was the boy Vanquisher's campaign.
That's hilarious.
It sounded like a good idea at the time. That was Stumbleduck's catchphrase.
Oh, God. He was 29 years old. Fuck off, Herman. Maji Chan for $2. Nipples is not a Sunday subject. Do tell. No. You will have to wait for the absolute pain that I went through until Sunday. You will have to remind me. And this is my hope that you don't remind me, but it's my
Too
chat.
late.
You got, they fucking
It will be known as the Sunday nipple stream.
Oh my God, dude.
People have already set reminders on their phones, set it on their Google calendars. Remind Royce about losing his nipples. You know that's what's happened. You knew that was what was going to happen. Don't act like you didn't.
Yeah. I have small hope that my chat.
It's called the drink with crazy for a reason.
They don't. My chat doesn't forget things. They don't.
Of course we don't.
But all right. Well, David Odell, good sir, where can we find you for Griffin's Library to discover more of your fantastic world?
Well, of course you can find me on YouTube at Griffin's Library. Rumble for Griffin's Library, and if you want to support, which I would very much appreciate, Griffin's Library.locals.com, and since it has been brought up to me, Griffin spelt Gryphon, not Griffon.
So the beast, not the person.
Correct.
I'm not that drunk
yet.
No, I tend to stop drinking when the stream's over, so we're gonna just plateau here.
Fair enough.
Oh, fuck off! I hate this. It's like you got to log into Locals. I should already be logged into Locals. Oh wait, no, I'm not logged into Locals on this computer.
Obviously.
That's okay though. GriffinsLibrary.locals.com. Down there in the chat, if you guys would like to go over and support him. And I don't know, like the guy sounds like he's got some good games, so maybe get on some of those games because that sounds like a lot of fun.
As soon as we get a relatively decent number of people on Locals as either paying supporters or just free members, I am going to start doing Locals exclusive live streams.
There you go.
I really want people to support via Locals versus any other platform because, well, Locals cares about free speech.
They do. They actually, Locals is probably the best of all of them for that. So I got to give them that one. I do got to give them that one. Mr. Daniel P. Riley, good sir. What shield do you have this week?
None.
So he shields for me. I'm just going to take that by default.
Yeah, Griffin's Library, man. He's got 150 episodes of content at your fingertips.
True. It is true.
Yeah, I can chill for everybody else. I don't chill for myself. Keep an eye out for the comic. That's about as much as I'm going to go with.
Awesome, man. Well, I do appreciate both of you. And no, I can't fucking leave. Ladies and gentlemen, for that story that you have trapped in the corners of your mind under the cobwebs of laziness because, well, you've got video games or food or whatever reason that you have to just beat that little bastard of a story into its place away from the light of day. If you want to bring that guy out of hiding because he's afraid of you now because you've used laziness in video games to trap him, call Daniel P. Riley at whimsyland.org.
That's sound like an abusive relationship.
It is an abusive relationship with a story. That's how I write. We're not going to go there right now. But if you would like to take that poor abused story out of your mind and put it to the page, go to whimsyland.org and contact Mr. Daniel P. Riley so that way you can take that poor little abused story, turn it into a real story, and make it happy and put it into the hands of thousands of people with the help of Mr. Daniel P. Riley.
I like that.
Yeah.
And at Mr. DP Riley on the platform formerly known as Twitter.
We call it Twix now.
Twix.
No.
Twitter plus X equals Twix.
No.
I'm calling it Twix. I don't even give a shit. I want to make that a popular thing enough to piss off Elon so he bans me for calling it Twix. It would be
left Twix or right Twix.
We're not getting into that.
Yes.
And the left Twix always tasted better. I don't know why it just did. They did something with that. I don't know. It's true. It's
the cocaine.
Well, also yes. Ladies and gentlemen, oh my God, dude. David, thank you so much for coming on tonight, man. I am so sorry we gotta have to spring this on you last minute. Because of all the cancellations, thank you so much for making yourself available on such short notice, dude.
It was a blast.
Thank you. It was an honor to be here.
Oh, good Lord. We finally made it. We finally made it. Absolutely awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for being here on Iron Age Nights, number 45. Oh, man.
Man, 7 weeks. And we made it a year.
I know. What are we going to do for episode 52? We got to do something.
Thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
Try to take over the world. Hurry! Oh, God. We got to figure something out. It's going to be good. Episode 52. We
got 7 weeks to figure it out.
No, you know what? We should do a reacting to a best of. That's it.
Yeah, let me make fun of myself.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for being here on Iron Age Nights number 45. I will see you all right here on Sunday Coffee. Cheers, everybody.
Good night, everybody.